On the 146th episode of the HatTrick Sports Podcast, we're going to be talking about the Red Sox firing 5 of their coaches. The NBA and NHL playoffs continue. We're going to be talking about the revival of the Dodgers-Giants rivalry and end it off talking about the highs and lows of the NFL draft. Make sure you use code HatTrick Sports when checking out at w.gg for 10% off your order. Roll it! Welcome to HatTrick Sports, starring your host, Isaiah Carpenter. Bringing you the biggest sports headlines every week. This is the HatTrick Sports Podcast. Hey, we are going to start off the 146th episode of the HatTrick Sports Podcast talking about the Red Sox. This happened just last night, Saturday night. The Red Sox decided to fire 5 of their coaches. They are last in the AL East right now at 10-7. So Alex Cora, the manager of the Red Sox, and 5 other coaches were fired. 5 coaches, including, these are some weird coaches that they fired. One second, right here we have it. Assistants, I saved it. Yeah, so the Alex Cora, obviously the manager, was fired. Bench coach was fired. The hitting coach, third base coach, and assistant hitting coach were fired. And hitting strategy coach were fired. That is crazy. The assistant hitting coach was fired. It's yes and no. I feel like Alex Cora deserved to be fired. The Red Sox still have to pay Alex Cora the $21.75 million for the year left in his contract. But I feel like it's a little extreme when you fire 6 total coaches. They have the worst team in multiple stats. I get it. Pitching's not great. They have Garrett Crochet, who's not doing great. The decisions, the game time decisions aren't great coming from Cora. They just got swept by the Yankees. Cora decided not to put in his best reliever. They're the worst in WAR, OPS, all of that stuff. They're the worst in so many stats. But still, firing 6 coaches just 37 games into the season, 27 games into the season is a pretty bold move. The AAA manager for the Red Sox, Chad Tracy, is going to be the interim head manager for the Red Sox. And it's interesting. So the GM, Breslow, I think is how you pronounce it. That is the Red Sox GM. He didn't hire Alex Cora. He kind of inherited Alex Cora. So I think what his excuse was is like, hey, I didn't make these coaches, these managers, and all of that. I'm gonna wait one second. Give me a minute. I think I'll clip that out of the podcast. But I think what he's kind of thinking is like, I inherited these guys. I don't really like these guys, these coaches and Alex Cora. I want it all to be my guys who I hire and put into these coaching spots. And this was just kind of his excuse. Like, hey, you just got swept by your biggest rival and you're 10-7, last place in your division. So I think that was just his excuse to fire all of these guys. But now, thinking about it, now you got to think about, hey, every decision from here on out is because of you. Like, there's no excuse like, oh, I didn't hire these guys. Now, every result is because of Bledsoe. No, it's not Bledsoe. Breslow. I didn't agree with how the Red Sox addressed the media and the players after firing 6 of their biggest coaches. They basically told the players, hey, you're being paid to play baseball, only worry about playing baseball. And they didn't really talk to the media that much. They were kind of hiding. They were saying that they were in meetings. Really weird. And the coaches, they're obviously in the middle of the series against the Orioles, so the coaches got picked up in like a bus, and on it says coaches for hire, which is the most ironic thing ever. Coaches for hire, as they're taking 6 fired coaches to the jet, which, again, they took a picture in front of the jet. Just a weird series of events coming from the Red Sox. And I don't like how they didn't allow the players to ask questions or media really to ask too many questions from the guys who made the actual decision. they weren't given, I guess, a valid reason, which I see the valid reasons. Like, hey, you're 10-17. It just seems early. You're screwed for at least a week or two. Then after that, if you can find guys to replace them, hopefully they do well. But I feel like this season's kind of screwed just because of how early they did all of this. Alex Cora obviously has some history coaching in other places, Houston, but I think he's going to end up in the Phillies. He knows the Phillies GM very well, so I think that he's going to end up doing something with the Phillies, which is good for him. I mean, Alex Cora, I think, would rather be on the Phillies than Red Sox. It just seems early. It just seems Alex Cora did a great job for the Red Sox. You know, he won a World Series for them, but it just seems early in the season, going 10-17. They haven't had an easy schedule by any means. It just seems early. It just seems very early, and just the most ironic thing in the world is them leaving on a bus that says coaches for hire, which I guess they're hiring. So I don't know. I guess the GM, different guys in the front office, they're just all pointing fingers. It's all kind of sketchy to me. So it started with the chief baseball officer, Craig Bledsoe. It's just weird. They're all pointing fingers at each other like, hey, he made the decision, we all made the decision. But I guess Alex Cora really doesn't care. He's going to get paid to basically sit on his couch until he gets another job, and then that other job's going to pay him. But the Red Sox are screwed. We're going to be talking about the MLB standings, and Red Sox 8 games back, 27 games into the season isn't very good. But again, I think it's just you fire Alex Cora kind of thing. 6 coaches gone. That is not going to help the Red Sox. I'm not sure what they're going to do or what they did do today. It's just crazy. Let's move on to the other side of the country. The Dodgers and Giants, one of the biggest rivalries in baseball, is back at it because of arguably the best offensive catcher in the league, who is a backup. Dalton Rushing is starting drama in California once again. It all started a couple weeks ago. You know, the Dodgers were playing the Rockies, and the Rockies were doing very well against the Dodgers on first pitches, and Dalton Rushing had to say something to the media. Now, is it his place to say that? Absolutely not. You know, he's the young guy. He's the rookie or second year or however long he is into the season. Will Smith is allowed to say stuff like that. Dalton Rushing, keep your mouth shut a little bit about that. But in the next series against the Giants, he started a little bit even more, starting up that rivalry back up. You know, the Dodgers have been so dominant in the NL West over the last 10 years that in the last few years, the Dodgers-Giants rivalry, it just hasn't been, like, since Madison Bumgarner retired, there just hasn't been that butting heads, but I think that is going to start back up here again soon. It all started with Dalton Rushing. Jung-Hoo Lee slid into home, got injured. There was a clip that went viral of Dalton Rushing walking back to the dugout, basically saying F him to Lee. Now, the next game, Logan Webb was pitching, and the first pitch, he throws a little inside to Dalton Rushing. In the next pitch, he drills him in the ribs. Doesn't feel great. He goes to first base. Dalton Rushing goes to first base. You know, everybody's just kind of thinking about, like, hey, why would he on purposely hit him? That, whatever. And then Dalton Rushing, in a double play, has a somewhat dirty slide and slides into Willy Adames. A little dirty. Nobody's hurt. It was still a double play. Nothing really was affected of it. But then after the game, Logan Webb was asked by the press, hey, was your reason for hitting Dalton Rushing because he said F him to Jung-Hoo Lee the game before? And, you know, Logan Webb said, well, what clip? What video are you talking about? Oh, I never saw that. So, all that in mind, I think that, John Boy, get your clips ready. You can start pulling the clips now. I think I'm calling it right now. April 26th at 5 o'clock p.m., I'm calling it. Later in this season, I think that the Dodgers and Giants are going to have a heated rivalry. I just think that it's going to start back up again. You know, the Dodgers are scared right now. I'm a Dodgers fan. I'll be the first to admit we're in second place in the division. We're half game behind the Padres. We're in somewhat of a slump in the last week, 18-9. You know, better than 90% of the league, but still, you know, when the Dodgers have adversity coming at them, the Giants are just there to keep them heated. So I don't know. I'm just calling it now. I think that I think that this is going to be a heated match, and I think that Dalton Rushing, if he doesn't get traded at the trade deadline, might get a little bit more injured by the Giants later in the season. But those are the two major headlines in sports. We're going to go over MLB league leaders right now in the MLB. Here we are. We're going to start it off first with batting average. Yordan Alvarez is batting .353, league high right now. Xavier Edwards for the Marlins. Who would have guessed the Marlins has the second highest, or tied for the highest batting average in the league, batting .353 as well. And then you have Ben Rice, Andy Paez, and Yandy Diaz all in third place, batting .337. I didn't realize how good Andy Paez was doing. He's, how many ABs does he have this season? 2026. Yeah, 98 ABs. How many hits? 33 hits. Cannot be complaining about that. Let's go back here. And, yeah, so we'll stay on the offensive side. For home runs, Yordan Alvarez is also leading in home runs. One of the only guys that can stay somewhat healthy for the Astros. 11 home runs. And then Murakami, the White Sox guy that we all thought was going to be a bust. He's hit 11 home runs so far this season. Again, this is as of April 26th. Aaron Judge, James Wood, and Max Muncy, the Funky Monkey. Aaron Judge and James Wood each have 10 home runs, and Max Muncy is in 5th place with 9 home runs right now. Max Muncy, he had 2 games where he really popped off. He had, I think, 1 game with 3 home runs and another with 2 home runs. So I think half of his home runs were just within 2 games. But he's killing it when he's on. And then runs batted in RBIs. I do have RBIs here. RBIs, Sal Stewart for the Reds, 29 RBIs. Yordan Alvarez, potentially your AL MVP. Early prediction, Yordan Alvarez, AL MVP. As of right now, if the season ended right now, Yordan would definitely be AL MVP. He has 26 ribbies, and then Matt Olson, Drake Baldwin, and O'Neal Cruz each have 24 and 25 runs batted in. Just, less than 30 games into the season. It's quite a bit of RBIs. And then hits. Yordan Alvarez leads the league in hits with 38, followed by Drake Baldwin for the Braves, 37. Ozzie Albies, another Braves, with 36 home runs. And then Ernie Clement, World Series hero, with 36 hits. And then Xavier Edwards also with 36 hits. Marlins, Xavier Edwards. Are you going to keep him? Are you going to sell him? What are you guys going to do this year with this guy? He just literally this year, he just comes up and is absolutely amazing. Let's talk about pitching. Pitching leaders for wins. Jose Soriano, incredible in the AL. AL Cy Young, early AL Cy Young, Jose Soriano. He has 5 wins this season along with Chris Sale. Aaron Ashby has 5. 2. George Kirby and Gavin Williams each have 4 wins. Again, 30 games into the season, 5 wins is incredible. We're going to be talking about Jose Soriano a little bit more here in a minute, but earned run average, Jose Soriano, a .24 ERA, just 5 games into the season. How many starts does he have? Here we go. He started 6 games, has 5 wins, 2.7 wins above replacement. Again, just 5 games into the season for him. A .24 ERA, 37.2 innings pitched, 43 Ks, only 13 walks, 3.3 strikeouts to walks ratio, giving up 18 hits, only 1 run. He's given up 1 run in 37.2 innings. Incredible, Jose Soriano. Now, if they had prime Trout and prime Ohtani on the team, could they do something with the AL West? Maybe. We'll talk more about the AL West in a minute. Seth Lugo has the second lowest ERA with a 1.15, and then Parker Messick, 1.76. Cam Schlittler has a 1.77, and then Randy Vasquez with a 1.88 ERA. And then let's talk about the relievers. The closers of our league. Mason Miller, somehow the Dodgers have to get him from the Padres, but he has 10 saves. Riley O'Brien, 7. David Bednar, 7 saves, and then Paul Sewald, 7 saves. And then Kenley Jansen, look at Kenley Jansen with the Tigers, the 5th most saves in the league, making the revival. The revival of Kenley Jansen with 6 saves. So, we're early into the season. What are we? 20% into the season. Things are looking good for these guys. Other guys, not so much. Teams. Let's go to the team leaders. I see a lot of Dodgers, Braves. Dodgers basically are top 5 in every single stat except for saves because there's no need for saves. But other than that, strikeouts, the Dodgers don't have a lot. In quality starts, they're stolen bases. Dodgers aren't a stolen base team. Dodgers are up there. Dodgers are completing the three-peat this season. But yeah, we're going to go over the MLB standings here. Let's start off with the AL. In the AL East, you have the Yankees in first place by 2.5 games. They are 18-9. The Braves, like I said, 2.5 games behind them at 15-11, back in the Trop. Orioles, a couple games behind them. Blue Jays, a couple games behind them. And then, like I was talking about, the Red Sox, 10-17. Hopefully, they can get their coaching situation together and start winning some games and hopefully make a push. I saw this thing and it was like, hey, which struggling team? It was the Red Sox, Mets, Astros, and I don't know, one other struggling team. It's like, hey, who's going to make that push? Because one of them are, if not multiple. I don't think the Red Sox make the push. I don't think the Red Sox make the postseason this year. It's just going to be a rough next month for them. In the AL Central, you have the Guardians. The Guardians are up by a game against the Tigers. Kenley Jansen tried to do his thing with saves. It doesn't always work. But this division's weak. The Guardians are 15-3, a game ahead in their division. But other than that, everybody else is 500 or below. Royals are in the same spot as the Red Sox. They have the guys. They just don't execute it well. And then in the AL West, this is the weakest division. I'm not going to say by far, but this is definitely the weakest. The AL West and AL Central, both weak divisions. The A's and Rangers are leading the division. The Athletics, a couple years ago, horrible. They don't really have a stadium right now. Or, they have a stadium, but it's just like a rental stadium that they have right now. But they're still 14-3, leading their division. The Rangers in the same spot. Mariners, 1.5 behind them. Angels, 2.5 games behind them. And 4.5 games behind the A's and Rangers. You have your Astros. Astros, brutal this year. You could blame injuries or you could blame they just suck. They just can't win a game. They're 7-8 at home. They're 3-10 away. They're 3-7 in their last 10 games. Astros, it's just not their year. It's just not their year. Last year wasn't their year. It's just never going to be their year again, as it should. It's karma. 10 years later, yeah, I still care about the trash can banging. It's kind of what they deserve, even though there's not too many guys left on the team. I just hate Altuve. That's pretty much it. But Altuve's... Actually, I don't know. How many guys are still on the team? I wonder if there's anybody still on the roster for the Astros from the 2017 team. In the NL, you have the NL East. The Braves are 20-9, first team to 20 wins. They are on fire. I just went over some of their guys. Absolutely shoving. Offense is kicking it. 20-9. Great. Are the Braves going to give the Dodgers a hard time in the playoffs? Maybe. The Marlins, Xavier, that's their guy. The Marlins have their guys set in place. But the Braves have a very easy division right now. The Mets and Phillies, you would expect to be in the top, especially with their payrolls and the guys that they have. The Mets are 9-18, and the Phillies are 9-19, both 10.5 games back. In the division, that's brutal. The Mets, you spend all the money. I get it. You just came off of a 12-game losing streak. Same with the Phillies. The NL East, I thought they were going to be a strong division this year. They're not. They're not at all. One team over 500, and it's the best team in the league at 690. Incredible. The Braves are actually incredible this season. In the NL Central, you have the Reds. The Reds are just ahead of the Cubs at 18-10. Pirates, 1.5 behind them. Brewers, 3.5 games behind the Reds, and then the Cardinals. The Cardinals, this is the only division where every single team is above 500. This is the best, most consistent division. but I would argue the least appreciated division in the entire league. The NL Central is actually on fire right now. We'll see if they can keep it up. We'll see who comes out on top. It's any of their division. You know what I mean? Like the Cardinals, they can come back from a 3.5 game deficit, especially with how they're playing right now. The Reds could easily plummet. It's just all to tell. We have 140 games left to decide to see who will come out on top. And then my favorite division, the NL West. The Padres, unfortunately, leading the Dodgers for now. A lot of Padres fans are talking right now. It's talk. It's all talk in April. But once it gets to October, all of a sudden, the Padres fans don't know how to talk anymore. I don't know what it is. It's just in September, October, and even November. Like, the Padres fans just disappear. But in April, they're all talk. The Dodgers are in a little bit of a slump, but they're still 18-9. I call it a slump. It's just a slump for the Dodgers. Like, they're just not used to losing 9 of their first 25 wins or whatever, their games. Diamondbacks, Padres. Again, I was thinking about this earlier. Like, they just had a series, and nobody knew about it. Nobody knew that the Padres and Diamondbacks had a series, and it's one of the most important series of the week. And I just feel like nobody was talking about it. The Rockies in dead last. Not as bad as the Astros, though. So there gives the Rockies that. The Dodgers also gave the Rockies a couple wins, which I don't love, but good for the Rockies. Do what you want. They're 12-16. According to Dalton Rushing, they're very good against first pitches. I don't think a 12-16 team would be very good at first pitches. But that's just a little update. 28 games into the season. Let's talk about ABS. Again, this is kind of a weekly thing where I go over ABS stats, standings, everything like that. Overall, the ABS system has 54% overturn rate. Now, anything above 1% is useful and helpful, and I will be grateful for ABS anytime that it is above 1%. A lot of people talk about, hey, the batters are only at 46% overturn rate. That's fine. It's higher than 1%. It's not like a 50. It needs to be above or below 50. It just needs to be above 1%, and that is how many calls wouldn't have been called correctly last season. So overall, there have been 1,663 attempts at the time of this recording. 892 of them have been confirmed to make an overall of 54% overturn rate. Batters are at a 46% overturn rate, success rate, as you will. They are 355 out of 764 in their little top of the helmet thing. So yeah, that leaves 409 that were confirmed. I'm fine with that. Again, I will take one overturn call a season. It makes that much of a difference in every single game, which affects divisions, everything. I love it. I love ABS and what it's done. And then fielders, combined of 60% success rate. Catchers are at a 61%. Pitchers are at a 42%. Only 38 attempts from pitchers. 16 have been overturned, which is crazy to me. You would think 60 feet, 6 inches away, the pitcher can correctly see like how close it is before the catcher calls it, because usually the catcher would be the first to call it. And so I'm proud of those 16 pitchers. But then catchers, definitely the highest by far. They have a 60% success rate. They are 537 for 899. Good. Again, anything above 1% benefits the fans, the players, and the true value of baseball and pitching and the strike zone. So, yeah. Let's move on to the NBA standings. So, sorry, the NBA playoff bracket. We are still in the first round of the NBA playoffs, but that is going to come to an end here soon. The Thunder are up 3-0 against the Suns. They are going to pull the sweep there. The Thunder, again, I think the Thunder's B team could beat the Suns. The Lakers and Rockets. The Lakers are up 3-0. I thought that this was going to go into a 6-game series, but no. The Lakers might sweep here tonight. I believe they play later tonight. They might pull the sweep. On Monday, tomorrow, the Nuggets play the Timberwolves. Right now, the Timberwolves are up 3-1 against the Nuggets. And then playing right now, we do have it on The Spurs are playing the Trailblazers. Right now, the Spurs lead the Trailblazers 2-1. On the east side of the bracket, where'd I go? On the east side of the bracket, the Orlando Magic is leading the 1 seed Pistons 2-1. That is the first major upset. Besides the Nuggets, but even the 8-1 seed leading 2-1 is crazy. The Pistons have to really lock in. If they don't, they're in trouble. Their season might be done, and the Magic would have to play either the Cavs or Raptors, and that series is tied at 2 games as well. It's anybody's series for this Cavs-Raptors game, and then again, like I said, they'll play either the Pistons or Magic, but the Pistons and Magic, they're going to be fighting each other out. So both teams are fighting each other out. So I feel like in that part of the bracket, they are going to lose to either the Knicks, Hawks, Celtics, or 76ers just because of how tight it is. But even this side of the bracket's tight. The Knicks and Hawks are tied at 2 games, and then the Celtics and 76ers are the Celtics are leading 2-1. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. We still have a couple months, April, May, June. We have about a month and a half left of the NBA playoffs, but it'll be exciting. It'll be exciting after the conference semifinals. That's when it gets real. Who's actually good and who's fake and what upset series were and everything like that. But I'm excited. I'm very excited. And then in the NHL, the Avalanche are up 3-0 against the Kings. Dallas is tied. The Knights are tied. Edmonton down 2-1 against the Anaheim Ducks. The Flyers are up 3-1 against the Penguins, and then the Canes, the Hurricanes, ended up sweeping the Senators 4-0, so they have clinched a spot into round 2. You have the Sabres and the Bruins. The Bruins are down 3-1. The Lightning are down to the Canadiens as well. The Lightning and Oilers are both down, and I was kind of expecting them to be at least up a little bit here, but they're not. It's the same kind of schedule as it goes in the NBA, but yeah, the Hurricanes are the first to move on in either bracket. So there's that. Last week, the NFL draft took place, and I have some notable notes from the best teams and the worst teams of the draft. So let's talk about the best teams of the draft. The Browns. The Browns, they took the offensive tackle, Spencer Fano, and at number 9, and then they added 2 wide receivers after that. Some of these guys are going to be in for week 1 for the Browns. They are going to make a run. They're not going to make a run. They're going to try to do better than they have in last seasons, but they have a very deep class this year, and the Browns definitely locked in and did great in the draft this year. The Dallas Cowboys, also another team that came out on top of the trade. They traded up for the safety, Caleb Downs, and then they got the edge, Malachi Lawrence, late in round 1. 5 of the 7 total picks that they had in the draft went to the defense, who last year the Cowboys defense just was not it at all. So they are definitely trying to fix that right now with 5 defensive players coming from the draft for them. The Raiders, obviously, they had the number 1 overall pick. They obviously came out on top with Fernando Mendoza, or Heisman Mendoza, as you might call him. They haven't been able to have a solid quarterback in some time now. And with Mendoza here, he's going to have that mentor, the old man mentor coming up. So we'll see. I think he'll start game 1, but the Raiders are saying otherwise. I don't know what they're going to do. But they have 2 QBs now. And they also got a safety and running back, which they got, Traden Stukes and Mike Washington Jr., solid picks from the Raiders. And then you have the Eagles. The Eagles, they moved up to the 20 pick for Malachi Lemon, wide receiver. And then they added the tight end in round 2. They got the edge from the trade with the Vikings. So they also came out on top. Those are the 4 that I looked at as the best trade, the best teams that came out on top from the trade. On the other side, the worst teams to come out from the draft, I don't know why I said trade, from the draft, the Jaguars. The Jaguars draft just was not it. They didn't have a first-round pick, which they already started off bad, and it wasn't a great draft class. Compared to years past, it wasn't the best draft class we've ever seen, so if you're going to have a bad year, let this be the bad year. But they didn't have a first-round pick. 3 out of their 4 picks on day 2 were definitely a reach. And then they had a guard in round 3. They had, Emmanuel Brigham. He was definitely the steal of the guys that they had. But then they had the linebacker and running back that they still need help with, but they didn't do anything about. They need linebackers and running backs, and they didn't do anything about it in the draft, and they're screwed again this season. The Jaguars are just screwed again this season. I'm sorry, Trevor Lawrence, but your front office doesn't care about you. The Vikings are another team that was questionable in the draft. You know, they got the defensive tackle, Caleb Banks, at the 18th overall pick. But his foot was broken in the combine, so it was kind of a reach, especially for first round, number 18 overall. I feel like you could have gotten a better defensive tackle, and then you don't really know what he's all about. I get the combine isn't everything, but when you have a broken foot in the combine, I get it, feet heal, but, I don't know. It was just questionable to me. And then they had some prospects that, they kind of overshadowed, I feel like. There were some guys that they overshadowed and picked other guys because they had a better feeling about them. It's just questionable. It's just not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough to make a positive momentum for the Vikings. And then the 49ers, the San Francisco 49ers definitely had a questionable draft year, which I'm fine with. As a Seahawks fan, I'm fine with. They traded out of round 1. They had a few day 2 picks, Stribling, Height, and Black. They're reaches, though. Day 2 wasn't the best for them. And then their defensive tackle, Grayson Halton, was definitely a positive thing for them. But they need an offensive tackle and an edge that they didn't end up getting at all in the draft. So again, it's going to be good for the Seahawks. The Seahawks are also going to have the Rams coming at them, Super Bowl champion. But I think they're solid. I think most of the teams came out solid. I think it's going to benefit most of the teams. And I think most of the teams made the right moves, except for the last 4 or 5. But that is going to do it for the 146th episode of the HatTrick Sports Podcast. Thank you all for listening. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Podbean, your Amazon Alexa, anywhere you listen to podcasts, YouTube for all the visuals. Make sure to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook at at HatTrick Sports. Go to shophattricksports.com to get the best merch around, and we will see you guys next week for episode 147.